Bow! What up, y'all? I want to welcome y'all back to another episode of the Trifecta Podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn that notification button on, man. We're going to be giving you guys all content throughout the playoffs, man. I'm very excited. It's been an amazing playoffs this year, all right? Turn the notification button on, man. We're going to be giving you reviews, recaps, previews, prediction, all that good stuff, man. Come kick it with your boy, Rondo, at the Trifecta Podcast. All right, man, getting into our next matchup, Pacers and Knicks. All right, season series 2-1 in favor of the Pacers. All right, so the Pacers have outshot the Knicks in their 3-game season series in the regular season, man. So they have a 125 offensive rating, a 116.8 defensive rating, all right, which is to be expected on the offensive end. They've been top 5 in offense in all metrics that you could possibly find in the NBA this season. Really good offense, man. That's to be expected. But they're shooting really good from the field and the three-point line, all right? So, in the season series, they're shooting 54.6% from the field versus the New York Knicks and 47% from the three versus the New York Knicks, all right? So, they've been lighting it up, all right? They're also averaging 30 assists per game, all right, on 16 made threes per game, all right? So, they've just been lighting it up versus the Knicks. So, the biggest thing for the Pacers are their drive and kick game, all right? They get a lot of points off dribble penetration, all right? They drive, they kick to open shooters, all right? All their players can shoot very well from the three. Last year versus the Milwaukee Bucks, majority of their players made above a three a game, all right? So Nembhard made over a three a game, 1.5. Miles Turner made 3 threes a game at 44%, so he was lighting it up. Tyrese Halliburton, almost 2 threes a game. Everyone just shooting the shit out of the ball, man. Like, they're a really good shooting team, and they get great penetration, all right? They're also very well balanced in their scoring attack, all right? So, in last series, 7 guys for the Indiana Pacers averaged over 10 points, all right? 7 guys. So, that's literally who they play throughout the whole series, all right? They only go about 7, 8 deep, all right? That's probably Obi Toppin, that's TJ McConnell, and they also do a little bit of Jalen Smith or Isaiah Jackson in there for the bigs, man. But their main guys, man, they score. Their bench, they score. They're the best in the league in bench points. They're averaging 30 points per game in bench points, so 30 assists per game in the playoffs this far, and 30 points per game off the bench. So 30 for 30 for the Indiana Pacers, man. So they're a really high-powered offense, all right? But the Knicks are a high-powered defense, all right? So the Indiana Pacers are top 5 in the league in points in the paint. During this playoffs, they were actually number 1 regular season in points in the paint, all right? But the New York Knicks are a great team and not allowing points in the paint, all right? So they're only allowing 36.3 points allowed in the paint area, all right? That's top 3 in the playoffs so far. While the Indiana Pacers are top 5 in the league in points in the paint, all right? So that's something interesting for you guys to look at, kind of have that back and forth effect, all right? So the Pacers also are a very fast-paced team, all right? It's literally in the name, Pacers, pace, all right? Like how I did that there. But, man, they're really good in transition, man. So there's top 10 in fast break points. The top 4 in the playoffs in fast break points. All right, but they don't create a lot of turnovers. All right, so the Indiana Pacers are run off of makes, off of misses, turnovers, anything, man. They don't really cause a lot of turnovers, but they do run a lot. So any chance they get to run, push the ball up the floor, they will do that. Halliburton is very good at starting the break. All right. He's very good at doing the outlet pass to guys, man, getting the ball out of his hands. To Siakam in the open court, Neesmith, all these guys, man. They run. All right, so the Knicks do have to guard against that. So Indiana is a very fast-paced team, right? Top 4 in the league in fast pace the whole season. The Knicks are a very slow-paced team, all right? So they're bottom of the league in pace, all right? So we will see which one wins out, all right? But I think it is a good contrast for you guys to look at, man. To give you guys some context on how this series can go, how I expect it to go, just not as embarrassing. I'm going to look at the Indiana Pacers, and I'm going to look at the Phoenix Suns in their series versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, all right? So to give you guys some context here. So in their last series, the Indiana Pacers allowed 40.8 field goals made per game. The Suns, same thing, allowed 40.8 field goals made per game. A field goal attempts per game, 86.3 for the Indiana Pacers. That's how much they allowed. And 85.5 for the Phoenix Suns, man. So I'm saying all that to say this. Styles make fights, as I said once before, right? Minnesota and New York are very similar in how they play, right? They're a very physical team, brute force, great rebounding team, size, bully ball, all right? They have that in common, all right? What Phoenix and Indiana has in common is they like to run, all right? They like to get up and down the floor. They like to play with pace. They like to shoot a lot of threes, get a lot of dribble penetration, share the ball, all right? Both are top 5 in the league in assists. So both of those teams are similar in that aspect, man. And we obviously saw how that Phoenix and Minnesota series went, man. So I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a sweep, anything like that. I don't think New York Knicks has the horses to do that, man. At least Minnesota, they got Cat for a second option. The Knicks don't even have Julius Randle. They don't have a consistent second option. I mean, DiVincenzo can give you a good game here and there. Anunoby could give you a good game here and there. Josh Hart actually played really well in the last series, man. I think he was their second leading scorer at 20 per game. But for you to expect Josh Hart to be your second best player, average 20 a game, I think you're kind of fooling yourself in that aspect, man. But I do see it potentially being a problem for the Indiana Pacers, man, with that slow style of play, especially in the playoffs when the game slows down a little bit. All right, you're able to get away with more. All right, so teams they can hand check you now. I don't know if you've seen it in the NBA playoffs, but it's a lot more physical. All right, so teams like Minnesota, teams like New York, teams like even Denver, like very physical teams tend to thrive in those situations, all right? So I do think that'll be a factor for this series right here in favor of the Knicks, all right? Finesse teams usually don't go that far unless you have a Steph Curry in a team, and the Pacers don't have that. So I do expect that to be a beneficiary for the New York Knicks in that sense. However, I do think Indiana could outlast New York in their bench squad, all right? So Indiana's able to put out a whole new, not 5 players, but I say about a good 3-man rotation off the bench with Toppin, McConnell, and one of the bigs, and they could play just as well as the starters, all right? McConnell could be a, reasonable facsimile of Tyrese Halliburton. In a way, he just gets into the paint, could create his own shot, could create for others, all right? Toppin could essentially be Aaron Nesmith, all right? He can knock down the corner shot, give you energy, can give you defense, all right? Whatever the bigs are, Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith, all right? They don't shoot as well as Miles Turner, all right? But they can be a factor at the rim, all right? So their bench is really good. They're the best bench in the league, best bench in the playoffs so far. As I mentioned earlier, 30 points per game from their bench. Literally, they won the last game in the series versus the Bucks just with their bench, all right? TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin were their leading scorers. So that shows you right there, right? Their bench is no joke. You got to take that into account, especially with the Knicks players playing 40-something minutes per game, all right? Eventually, they will get tired unless they're just superhuman beings, which they could be. I mean, they're NBA players, so I wouldn't put it past them. But eventually, you would have to think that will play a part somehow, some way. Whether it's for a game, 2 games, the entire series, we don't know. I'm willing to bet that will play some sort of a factor in this series, especially the longer it goes. So my biggest X factor for the Indiana Pacers is Miles Turner, right? So last series, Miles Turner averaged 19 points per game, 3 made threes per game, shooting a 44% clip. So he's been lighting it up. Best shooter for the Indiana Pacers last series, all right? And the good thing with him is he's a big, all right? So, but he's going against other bigs, guys like Brook Lopez for the Milwaukee Bucks, all right? Guys like he's going to play now, Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson. They're big, kind of slow-footed bigs, all right? So if Miles Turner sets the ball screen with Tyrese Halliburton, he's able to pop. He's able to ghost the screen, all right? Now the big has to make a decision. Are you going to go with them, all right? Are you going to double Halliburton, leave Miles Turner wide open? If you don't, that gives Halliburton more room to operate. That gives McConnell more room to operate. All right, they're already a great team in getting to the paint. As I mentioned earlier, top 5 in paint points, all right? So now the New York Knicks has to make a decision on how they want to guard ball screens. All right, that's why I think Miles Turner is such a big X factor in this series, because he's literally going to determine how the Knicks play ball screens, all right? So that's a big, big factor in this series, Miles Turner. Watch out for him. All right, and on the defensive end, the biggest thing for the Pacers is defensive rebound, all right? So in the season series, the Pacers averaged 39.7 rebounds per game versus the Knicks averaged 44, all right? So if they could keep it within 4 to 5 rebound margin, I think that puts them in good shape, hence why they won the season series in the regular season, right? But if it starts getting to an 8 margin, 10 margin, I think that's way too much, man. You can't give these guys second and third possessions. Jalen Brunson, you can't give him second and third possessions, man. Especially on missed shots. Usually on missed shots, guys like to shoot threes. Dante DiVincenzo gets a lot of threes off of missed shots. Offensive rebounds from the likes of Josh Hart, Hartenstein, all the guys, man, they crash the board, man. So the Pacers must watch out for that, must box out. And an interesting thing I want to see is who guards Jalen Brunson, all right? Because if you put Nembhard on him, that gives you a better chance to rebound the basketball, but I don't think Nembhard is a great matchup for Brunson. I think Brunson's going to kill him, to be honest with you. I mean, he did a decent job on Dame, but in that first game, if you guys remember, when they played the Bucks, Dame had like 35 at half. He didn't score the second half, but he gave Nembhard like 25, 30 of those points, all right? So we're going to see how the Pacers want to match up with the New York Knicks. If they want to put Aaron Nesmith on him, he's probably their best defender for Brunson. But then again, who guards Josh Hart? All right, Josh Hart's the best rebounder. So if you put Halliburton on Josh Hart, that's an advantage for Josh Hart. If you put Nembhard on Josh Hart, that's an advantage for Josh Hart. That just gives these guys more opportunities to score, right? And that's what the Knicks do. They offensive rebound, they get second chance points, all right, and they shoot threes off of that, man. That's how a lot of these guys get their points, besides Brunson, who could create on his own. So, man, it's going to be a tough task, man. Easier said than done. Brunson's averaging 35 a game versus these dudes. Only 3 assists, though. So that shows you, man, the Indiana Pacers are not trying to bring two to the ball. They're trying to make Brunson beat him by themselves. Mind you, Julius Randle played in one of those games, so I do expect the assists to go up. Just because there's no Julius Randle, so his usage rate will go up. But expect Brunson to have a big series, man, very big series. A quick note: DiVincenzo also averaged 24 a game versus the Pacers. He had one game where he had 38, so damn near a 40 ball. So I expect him to have a decent series. OG Anunoby did not play in the season series, but I expect him to have an impact in guarding Pascal Siakam. They were teammates. So, getting into the Knicks side of the Knicks-Pacers series, man. As I mentioned earlier, it was a 2-1 season series. However, there was no OG Anunoby in those 3 games, man. Pascal Siakam played 2 games out of the series, but there was no OG, so that's something to be considered. All right, he will essentially guard Pascal Siakam, and he's, he can hit threes. He's a decent player, man, so they missed him a lot for sure. All right, what the Knicks did, they forced a lot of turnovers, all right? They forced more turnovers, and they limited fast break points in the Indiana Pacers, all right? So that's something you must do with Indiana. You can't let them get out on a break and just pace and space you to death. You can't let them do that, man. If you can force turnovers, get back in transition, all right? Always be aware, head on a swivel, man. I think they'll be in good shape with that. All right, so for the role players, man, I think we know what Brunson's gonna do. All right, Brunson's gonna average 30 to 35 points. All right, I don't expect anything less, to be totally honest with you. But the role players must step up, man. They must give him some help. All right, so DiVincenzo is gonna be a big factor. He averaged 24 a game versus the Pacers in the season series, regular season. All right, Josh Hart just came off a series where he averaged 20 and shot 43% on threes. All right, that's really good for him. And they have to continue the offensive rebound, man. I don't expect anything less from a Tibbs team. They're going to be tough. They're going to be gritty. They're going to be physical. So I expect them to get offensive rebound. But the more the merrier, man. The more possessions you can get, the better for you guys, because the Pacers are going to shoot better than you most likely. They just have better shot makers, especially because they generate so much open looks off of their dribble penetration, man. All right, another thing to look at is Jalen Brunson. All right, he's going to get to the free throw line a lot. He got to the free throw line 10.5 times in the last series versus the Philadelphia 76ers. All right, and that's with better defenders to me than the Indiana Pacers have to throw at Brunson, man. So Nembhard, when he was guarding Damian Lillard, he struggled getting Damian Lillard to the line, man. Damian Lillard went to the line 18 times. I think he played 3 or 4 games. All right, so he's getting to the line pretty frequently. And Brunson's even a step above that in terms of getting to the free throw line, man. So that's something the Pacers are going to have to watch out against, all right? Who's going to guard Brunson, all right? How could we not foul him and give him extra points on the board? Defensively, all right, I think New York Knicks need to not overcommit on defense, all right? So when dribble penetration happens, please don't bring 2s to the ball. Don't do it, because you're going to leave a guy like Aaron Nesmith in the corner. He's going to shoot your lights out, right? He's not a great shooter when contested, but these guys are getting wide open looks, so they're NBA players. They're going to make those shots, all right? You give Miles Turner 10 open looks, he's going to knock down 6 or 7 of them. Like, you just can't do things like that, man. So you got to trust your guards, trust your perimeter defenders to guard and stay in front and not bring 2s to the ball. For example, like you looked at the last series, the Knicks played the 76ers, all right? Maxey torched him. He averaged 30 a game, shot 48% against the bigs, shot 48% against the guards, all right? That's Tyrese Maxey, all NBA player. I don't think the Pacers have any players that can kind of match Maxey's speed, his scoring pop, or anything like that, man. They do got guys that can get to the basket, TJ McConnell in particular. Very crafty, but he's not a scorer like Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Halliburton is not a scorer like Tyrese Maxey. So if you can make these guys, if you can make Halliburton be a scorer, right? He hasn't really been the same since his injury. I think that bodes in your favor as well, all right? So if they could just avoid overcommitting on defense, man, and stay in front of these guys, I think they'll be in good shape. So with all that being said, I'm going to go with the Knicks, man. I do think it's going to be a long series, so I'm going to say Knicks in 7. But overall, man, I think my New York Knicks fans are going to be happy with my pick, man. I can see them going to the Eastern Conference Finals. All right, I won't say my pick yet for the next series, man. But I definitely see them making it to the Eastern Conference Final, man. So all my New York Knicks fans, stand up, stand up. I think I'm gonna do big things, man. I got a lot of faith in the New York Knicks. All right, don't let me down. Knicks in 7. We out of here.